This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved. What do you mean you don't have to act first?
Yes, yeah, because it was more like.
Normally it's like, what do you want to do? And there's a silence. I think,
oh yeah. Well, I think Mr. Bartleby knows what he's doing for his first three actions. I saw that in the I saw that in the chat. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Mythras, fantasy role-playing game. It has no levels, but it's based on percentile dice. We have sorcerers, we have theists, we have battles, we have specials in combat, we have nasty monsters, and we have these four innocent looking players who venture out each week into the adventures that I create just to torment them and nothing else. That's all they're about. That's all they're here to do. The party have been very busy over the past 3 weeks, and we've had 3 sessions of this adventure. Basically, it's quite a simple adventure. It's very there's no sort of like issues. All they have to do is guard one Guildmistress, not several, not just one.
They are cloned.
There were 2.
They are cloned, and we have plenty of chances.
You did have a chance. However,
were made.
Mistakes are being made. I think the word is.
Otherwise.
So they do have quite a bit of money invested in this, and after last week, they're even donating to a charity, which is very nice of them. But before I sort of like say, give you a synopsis of what's happened in the story so far, I'll allow the players to introduce who they are and who they will be playing tonight.
Hi guys, I am Chugurga. My character is called Gulliver. Came across to this continent to improve his sorcery skills. He's small, he's scrawny, he's ginger. He's not very strong. He's so weak that if Hengist was to offer him his sword, he cannot lift it one-handed. He would have to use 2 hands just to lift it, lift the point off the ground. But what he lacks in strength, he more than makes up for in his boyish charms and his power in the magical art of sorcery. He is a sorcerer, part of the Order of the Kraken, which is the Blue Order, specializes in spells revolving around communication, transportation, and teleportation. He has the ability to shape his spells, change various aspects of them to suit his needs. He can change the range, the magnitude, which is the power, which is the intensity, the duration. He can even combine several spells into a single casting. He also has some lesser spells known as cantrips in his book. They're based on the folk magic school in Mythras. Recently injured, has a bit of a gippy leg where he took a nasty blast from the necromancer, or maybe just one of the necromancer's henchmen. But yeah, he walks a bit funny now. But he doesn't let it slow him down. He still does his best, and I shall pass on to Medivac.
I did that on purpose, so you picked me. Hello, everybody. I'm Medivac, and I play Hazra Khan. He's from Odess. He's from the northern steppes of Odess. He was part of a nomadic group that travelled across the Grey Ghosts, and they would just you'd never see them. They'd stop in a place, and then they'd move off to another area, and you wouldn't even know they were there. And he got separated from them. He's not the most charismatic person. So when he fell into this group of adventurers here, they were helping the count, and he bonded with them, and he found an affinity with them, definitely, to help Mr. Bartleby, who was in seriously troubles at the time. He's very athletic. He's mid-20s, at the moment. He carries a short spear and a scimitar. He loves to throw his spear into the most awkward situations, but it's never failed him yet because of the blood of his ancestors that is put into the tip of the spear itself. He has joined the Brotherhood, which is a group of people that keep tabs on what's happening in various biomes and areas and how things change and what affects these changes, and mainly concentrate on keeping the balance of what's happening. And yes, with that, I shall pass on to Mr. Pickles.
I'm Mr. Pickles, and I play our group's theist, Bartleby Fumus. He was once an aspiring entertainer, a bard of sorts, but had his hands horribly mangled by bandits. He was saved by the priests of Amriel. They healed him, but not quite his hands. They kept him alive, and so he joined the order. And through Amriel, he can work miracles and minor prayers, such as calming people who are upset or in the throes of misery. He can sharpen blades with the glint of moonlight. He can heal people, remove disease, poison, put wounds back together, make it so somebody can trek up a mountain without breaking a sweat, create shining magical shields that deflect weapons and jaws of mighty creatures. But Bartleby doesn't have really anything to fight back against all these threats. He's just the helper of the team that provides a little backup. And as such, he's our team's coward as well. He frequently runs from things and hides behind Hengist's mighty shield, or gets defended by Hazra fighting off a puddle monster that's trying to engulf him, or Gulliver teleporting him away. Beyond that, Bartleby has knowledge of commerce, some of the streets, a lot of knowledge about the local history of this land, as well as some knowledge of monsters, particularly goblins, which might not fully exist. And with that, I will pass it on to Longshanks EPG.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pickles. Hi guys, I'm Longshanks CPG, and tonight I'm playing Hengist. He is a warrior from across the sea, travelled over to Odys on the same ship as Gulliver right at the beginning of the campaign, so he's been around a while in Odys. He's the old man of the party, although he's only 30 years young. Fights with heavy plate armour, sword, shield, and he's just recently bought a dagger because of an incident that happened in the slums of Lindo recently, where he was disarmed and fighting 3 people with just a shield, so he could buy a second weapon. And he's recently bought a house, so he's now been promoted to the gentry of Lindo as well. And I will pass it on to Inwils.
Sorry, I was just adjusting my picture. just to make sure that I'm in the middle, because I was slightly off to one side, which is never good. Right, so the party have been hired by a couple of merchants that Hengist and Gulliver have known beforehand. They did a job for them right at the beginning of the campaign, when they guarded a caravan or went in search for a caravan, a missing caravan, which led to a whole load of adventures. Anyway, they actually have demonstrated that they are robust, they're resilient, they can deal with almost anything, and so they decided to hire the party to guard a visiting guild mistress. Now, the guild mistress has been traveling over the continent of throughout the continent of Odes, and she goes to various commerce merchant guilds in every city and town, and sort of like does a yearly check. It's also a wonderful time for the merchant guild to show off its prestige, to demonstrate what goods and commerce the town is providing, and also an opportunity for the merchants of the town to be accepted into the merchants guild, a very profitable guild, and one that everybody would like to be a member of, because if they're not, then they have to pay very heavy taxes. So the party were hired to protect the guild mistress on several occasions. The guild mistress would arrive at Lindo, at the merchants guild house. She would stay there throughout the day, and the party was hired to keep an eye out outside to make sure nobody gained access or attacked. Thirdly, they had to protect the guild mistress as she slept throughout the night. And finally, fourthly, they have to protect her on her rounds throughout Lindo. And finally, they have to protect her at a party on the night. So as the guild mistress arrived, there was an assassination attempt made by what the party later found out to be poison darts that were showered down onto the approaching or the arriving guild mistress and her party. After that, she did her business, and the party successfully managed to, the first one, I think only a couple of footmen died horribly in that one. They managed to keep an eye on the building throughout the day, and however on the night things did not go according to plan, and quite sadly the guild mistress died. There were several talks about covering it up, etc., until after quite a lot of debate, the party actually realised that the guild mistress had hired a decoy to increase her protection. She was slightly not amused, and neither was Hazra, and there was a bit of a domestic going on. But then the party came up with a wonderful plan for the following day. In order to lure the would-be assassins out, the party arranged an alternative route, not the route that the guild mistress was going to take. They decided to go a different way. This was under the two employers of the party, Boris Beckencall and
Eliza.
Surname?
Elmsworth.
Yeah, Eliza Elmsworth. And so what happened was that Eliza posed at the guild mistress with Boris in a sedan chair, and they started to go off a different route around. They even set, and I think I'm right at this, you set off earlier to try to confuse any would-be assassins, and the idea would be that it would be a different place earlier, so hopefully it would put the assassins at a disadvantage. Yeah, at a disadvantage, and they would have to rush up. Anybody remember the first place that you went?
It was a bakery.
The Rising Dough.
Rising Dough, yes.
Yeah, the Rising Dough, and they came out and they presented their bread, and everything was absolutely fine. I think it had been decided that Eliza posing at the guild mistress would stay inside the sedan as much as possible. Yeah. And there was a clap as you sort of like left there. Then you went to a perfumery,
Jasmine.
the sweet
Sweet
lavender.
lavender.
Yeah, and that was when Bartleby saw some of some ladies of the night. I seem to remember that you, not that you would frequent the lady, but being used to being on the streets. That was it, and she brought fine perfumes and things like that. And that didn't go down very well, I seem to remember. The guild, Eliza wasn't so pleased about that, but that might be conflicting beauty and things like that. And then finally, for last week's adventure, you went towards the tiny stitches. Now, there was 2 other places after this, just to remind you. There was the Sugary Mouse, which was a sweet maker. And then after that, there was an upmarket inn called the Restful Night. But when you got to the dressmakers, tailors, called the Tiny Stitches, the sedan chair parked its way up, and out came a very portly man, out of breath. He actually held up what appeared to be some kind of corduroy striped breeches. He sort of like stumbled a lot over his words, and I think I'm right in saying that he said Guild Master, then Guild Mistress, and then sort of like said anyone, something like that, and then he handed over the actual breeches. And I'm just moving you over now to this page, if you remember. This is the sort of like the setup. And I think I'm right in saying that I rolled odds and evens to see which side they would come in at. And they came up in Hengist's side, and the breeches were passed into the carriage. And then shortly after, I think Bartleby, you heard a noise. You heard a noise. Hazra is pausing at rear guard. Gulliver with his gippy leg is posing and being point person. And Bartleby, you heard a muffled cry inside. And you went, I think I'm right in saying you went over to the carriage and opened the curtains. Yes.
Yeah.
And when you got there, you saw the following scene. The breeches were on the floor, and there was about a 2-foot long snake that actually was on the floor, brightly coloured, but had obviously just struck out and was at that sort of like ready to strike again pose. It wasn't sort of like lying down, falling off to sleep. It was ready to strike. Boris himself was the Guildmistress, or Eliza, still in a cowl and everything, was sort of like slumped against the back of the chair. And Boris was, I think he was sat with his knees up and his feet up. And as you came to the door and looked at the scene and beholded the scene, Boris just uttered those immortal words, it bit her. And that was the exact point that I left it last week and said that's done and dusted. So without further ado, let's get straight on to the adventure and see what can be done. So Hazra, Gulliver and Hengist, you didn't hear what happened. In a second, I will allow some of you a roll, but the first thing that's going to happen is that Bartleby, you are going to be able to swing into action. So the floor is over to you.
As I mentioned before, I have a distinct set of actions I want to do. I didn't know if you wanted me to run my plan through with you and then take it a step at a time, or if you just want to go one step at a time.
It's completely up to you. I'm quite happy to go. The only thing is, if you go one step at a time, it allows you to change something. If one bit sort of like doesn't go off. And it also allows other things to happen, depending on your action. So I would just tell me one at a time, and then we can see how it goes.
The first thing I want to do is
Oh, you do. Sorry, you do have your club in your hand. I remember that because you were using it as a walking stick or something. Yeah.
Something nonsensical. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to do was using my best oratory sermon voice. I want to bellow out 3 words. And those 3 words are "Get the Tailor."
Okay.
I don't care who hears, but I want my allies to hear most of all.
Okay then. Okay. Second action.
Second action, I would like to cast the Prayer of Calm upon the snake, hopefully to urge it to sleep or go away.
Okay then. Do you wish to take minutes on this cast, or do you wish to do it as quickly as possible?
I'm not an expert on snake venom, so I'm going to say as quickly as possible.
Okay then. So yeah, we'll do your roll, and then we'll do some other rolls straight after that. So yeah. So roll your folk magic skill, is it?
Yeah. Here's the entry, and so you'll have a willpower, and it does have ranged, I believe, because I've used it on a wolf from a distance. I
Yes,
think
it does. Yeah, I think it's that card that's wrong. I think we've looked at that before.
Can I use a point of luck to reroll?
Yes, you can, or you can just take minutes over it.
I don't want to take minutes. That's
Okay, then.
not acceptable for me. I'd rather burn through some magic.
And probably take minutes now.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to.
Yeah. So you sort of like shout out. What the 3 words again?
Get the Tailor.
Get the Tailor. Okay then. So Hazra, Hengist, and Gulliver, you can now make perception checks. Just to let you know that it will be a standard roll because of the background noise, but Bartleby is booming in his sermon voice. Gulliver, you hear it. Hazra, you hear it. Hengist, are you using any luck on your roll?
No.
No? Okay then. Hengist doesn't hear it. So as you start casting your folk magic spell and calling down the blessing of Amriel to calm this beast, Hazra and Gulliver, you hear Bartleby call out, was it get the tailor? Stop the tailor. Stop the tailor. Get the pigeon. Get the pigeon. Does anybody else remember that?
Catch the pigeon.
Yeah, catch the pigeon. Catch the pigeon.
Catch that pigeon now.
Yeah. So Hazra and Gulliver, you can both have an action. Go for it.
Right. First question for me before anybody goes. We'd moved away from the tailor shop, hadn't we?
Yes.
Yes. Right. That's fine then. Yeah. So
You're not. Hazra, just to let
just meters away, aren't we?
Well, yeah, and it's probably this building here. Mm-hmm. If you can see where I'm pinging, so the door is probably there. Just to let you know, the tailor is still outside. The round portly man.
Yeah.
So what would you like to do?
If he's still outside, I will quickly go towards him with my spear out and say, "Stand where you are."
Okay then. And Gulliver, what would you like to do?
So, hearing that, Gulliver's going to sort of like look around because he would have been startled, sort of like looking in this direction until Bartleby had said something, and he'll spin round looking for the tailor, and when he sees him wherever he is, he's going to start trying to push his way through the crowd because there's
so you from where you are, you don't actually have a direct line of sight to the tailor.
He knows which is the tailor's building.
So are you going Bartleby's way or round the front to Hengist's way? Are you moving towards it?
I'm moving towards the tailors the quickest way possible.
Well, the quickest way possible for you is probably the same, to go past Bartleby and round to...
That's the way that I will go then.
Yeah. I know you've got a gippy leg, so I'm just wondering how far
Yeah, well, it depends on how many people are on.
You'll probably get to
run two. If I can run, I can run sort of like 2/3 of my normal run, which is
Okay, that's fine. I don't know if you read the link that I sent out about the Roll20 character sheets, but they're going to change. And one thing that's going to be missed out altogether, your movement bit will be concertinaed off or will disappear or be somewhere else, and it will only generate the numbers once you open it up. Does that make sense? Because apparently there's so many things that it's calculating all the time, it can actually make the actual character sheet very slow. Okay, so what they're trying to do is simplify it down so it only starts to work things out when you actually reveal it. I think the whole magic system is going to change as well.
That's this one. It's the load that it's carrying, isn't it? So.
Yeah. So okay then. So Bartleby, you see Gulliver going walking past you as you there's probably about a minute when all this is happening, and we'll come back to your willpower. Well, not your willpower roll. The snake's roll in a little while. So Hazra, you're stood in front of this portly guy. You sort of like level off your spear at him and say, what did you say, sorry?
Stand where you are.
Yeah, and he sort of like goes like this and throws his arms up, and as he does that, he a button on his shirt goes bing! Like that, because he was sort of like trying to hold everything in, and now he's sort of like relaxed, and it's like a ping. It's just sort of like you notice that he becomes extremely flustered, and he's sort of like saying, "Don't poke me! Don't poke me! Don't poke me!" Like this. Gulliver, you come round the corner and you see the Hazra with his spear levelled off at this portly man. Hengist, you probably now see Hazra behind you with this spear against this portly man. What would you like to do?
So at that point, Hengist is he's going to get closer to the wagon. I'm assuming the sedan chair, has it stopped, or is it?
Oh yes, it's stopped.
So if it's stopped, he's going to go up to the curtain. He's going to draw one curtain back and say, "Is everything all right?"
Okay,
and
then. So you sort of like fling the curtain back, and Bartleby, you see that this movement immediately gets the attention of the snake, and it sort of like turns round in an attempt to, it's obviously sort of like having a look at the closest thing to actually bite. And as you fling back the curtain, Hengist, you see sort of like everybody, the situation as previously described, and Boris is sort of like up there with his things round his neck, feet, and he sees you pull the snake. The snake sort of like looks round at you as Bartleby's finishing casting his spell. Boris sees you, and he literally launches himself at you, not in an offensive way, but almost as a help, get me out of here, as if he's going to sort of like grab hold of you, and as if, like a child sort of like grabbing up at somebody. Okay then, so you have an option. If you wish, you can evade his grapple, for want of a better word. Like I say, he's not been offensive here. He just looks like he's absolutely petrified.
My arms or something.
Yeah, exactly. So you can, if you wish, use an evade. and in which case that will allow you to sidestep or use his momentum to throw him out onto the floor as he comes across, or you can just allow him to sort of like jump into your arms. What would you prefer to do?
He's probably going to try and sort of like sidestep it. Because he's not wanting to be on the ground with a snake in the thing, so he will.
Okay, that's absolutely fine then. So if you where's my skill button? There. If you roll your evade.
Correct on 3.
Yeah, and he's Boris sort of like jumps out at you, and you sort of like see him coming, and you're not too sure whether or not you think he's going to attack or anything. But as he sort of like pulls out, you sort of like almost like uses forward momentum and sort of like just throw him to one side, and you sort of like he ends up. I've got all this grouped together in one thing. So there you go. And he sort of like, you sort of like throw him out onto the floor. He's now prone onto the floor, but he doesn't take damage or anything, but you do notice he instantly sort of like turns, so his back's he's facing the sedan and starts to sort of like back pedal quite quickly. Okay, and what was your spell roll?
81.
81. A 97 I get, which means I fail. And you notice that the snake, as you cast your magic over it, it seems to almost like calm down and almost like curls itself up into like a coil and almost like rests its head on part of its body as if it's almost like sleeping. It doesn't look angry or anything like that at all. Yes, so Gulliver. I'm just going round in a sort of like a circle now.
So Gulliver will.
Is that a shield on the roof next to you? I've often.
Yes, it is.
I've often wondered why it looks like a giant just left his shield.
It's like giants go to the pub. I'll leave my shield there.
Just leave my shield.
That Minotaur thing that attacked Linda a little while ago.
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, sorry, Gulliver.
So Gulliver is going to close the rest of the distance up to where the merchant and Hazra is, and as he gets within the last few feet, he's going to say, sort of like slightly out of breath because he's just had to run through a crowd and round the corner. He's going to say, "Was he by himself, Hazra?"
Yes, he was by himself, but why are we holding him? What is happening?
There are, just so you know, there are his entourage still with him. So
all right, I thought he came out on his own.
Yeah, no,
so...
behind him. Let me get to the end, Hazra.
Sorry.
If you look sort of like behind his sort of like entourage of all the seamstresses and the tailor boys and things like that are in the shop. He's not by himself, but they're all sort of like looking out. He's so round that he sort of like takes up almost
so
he's not alone. Yeah, so Gulliver says that to you.
Well, there's these people in the shop here that I can see, but what's happened? I heard Bartleby shout, "Stop the tailor!" So I have.
Well, Bartleby wouldn't just shout to stop the tailor for no reason. If Bartleby said stop the tailor, then he wanted the tailor stopped.
Hazra will shout, "Bartleby, I've got the tailor. What has happened?"
Hazra, would it not be easier to march the tailor round so that let everybody else know our business?
Well, I told him to stay still.
I'll deal with it.
You go talk to Bartleby, and I'll keep the tailor here.
Okay, back.
Hazra,
How many Scrooges were there?
Yes, Gulliver.
Was there 4 or 3?
I'm a member of the Order of the Kraken, and I know that part of the order is to deliver messages, but well, I don't do that. And I'm not going to be running backwards and forwards between you and...
I'm not an owl!
And
That was Harry Potter.
One day, my friend Gulliver, you will rise to the ranks of the mighty messenger. You'll be able to go forth and deliver messages.
I do have a bad leg. I don't know whether or not you remember the encounter when I was fighting the necromancer single-handedly, when you and Hengist were just both ganging up on one of his henchmen.
As everybody else who's now sort of like stopped in the street, they can see the Tailor going like this. Is you two just sort of like converse, and he sort of like starts to slowly drop his arms, but then sees Hazra sort of like threatening with the spear again, and he sort of like goes back up. Yeah, Hengist, what would you like to do?
So Hengist is Hengist is going to draw his dagger and he wants to try and kill the snake. I know the snake's calmed, but it's still a potential threat and it's between him and Thingy. So he's going to draw his dagger and he wants to, if he can.
Are you fighting the snake on the outside of the chair, or are you going into the carriage to fight it? It will be a series of different difficulties depending where you are. It'll be a lot easier to be in and fighting it rather than out and fighting it.
No, he's thinking speed's the key, so he's going to stay where he is and he's going to try and sort of like strike out, and so it's from the outside.
Okay, yeah.
Down
Roll your dagger roll. Whichever fighting style that comes into. Bartleby, this immediately breaks your spell because there's been offensive action to it now. So the snake doesn't sort of like just so I go, oh, I'm super calm. Oh, still super calm. Oh, still super calm. It automatically breaks its action. So it will break it now, so you will have your special hit location and damage, please.
So special is going to be, I had a different one in head, my mind. It will be choose location, head, so he's going for the neck. He's kind of wanting to impale it just below the head.
It has a wonderful to hit location roll, by the way. 19 and 20 is head. Everything else is body.
What about tail?
Well, I thought about that, but then I thought, when does the body become a tail? And I couldn't answer that. I suppose technically it's when the rib cage stops, isn't it?
CX.
Yeah.
A dagger, CX.
The dagger.
3 points to its head. Okay, just 1 second. I just need.
That was a very bad roll.
So I didn't write down whether or not it had bone armor or not.
Or plate mail.
Yeah. Oh yes. Now that you mention it, I hear snake. But I just put its hit points down. No, it doesn't. However, yeah. So you slam your dagger sort of like down onto its head, and it sort of like pierces straight through it and straight into the wooden floorboard in one sort of like fair swoop. You think it's dead, but well, you're not too sure whether or not it's dead or still alive. It seems to be twitching a lot, and you can see its tail thrashing around a bit. But currently, it's being pinned down to the floor of the sedan chair. And we'll nip over to you, Bartleby.
Seeing what just happened and having successfully calmed it. Anyways, I'm going to place my hands upon Eliza and use.
Ooh! Ouch! So you.
And here's my. Oh, go for it.
Yeah. Is that's an exalt, isn't it?
Correct. Here's my exhort roll. I will use my second of 3 points of luck to make this go right, and swiftly.
And just removing it. Yeah. Okay then. So you cast your cure malady onto Eliza. You just so you know, as you get closer to her, you do notice that there appears to be a snake bite. Okay. She's got like a square cut top. And you can see that the snake bite is sort of like in her, in want of a better word, her left bosom.
That's the first place you would look anyway.
Yeah, and he's
that's good. That's going to need sucking out.
Typical girly.
No, tickle Bartleby.
Yeah. There's no massaging needed to or anything like that. You just and you sort of like put your hands over it, and the moonlight of Amriel sort of like comes through your things, and you do notice that there's sort of like the redness around where the bite mark, and you could almost like see the blackness emanating through the veins. And you sort of like, once you call down the healing power of your goddess, you notice that these sort of like retract or slowly sort of like dissipate and diffuse. And then after you've cast it, you hear Eliza make a slight sort of like like that, and we'll nip back to the two Scrooges with the tailor.
Is the merchant armed in any way?
Make a perception roll for me, please, because he does have a conceal skill. Well, a sleight of hand skill.
96.
He doesn't look like he's armed at all. He seems to have breeches. Boots, breeches, a sash type belt. It's not a leather belt, it seems to be a sash type belt, and his breeches come over the top, and then it's tied so they flop over the top. And then he has what can only be described as a ill-fitting white shirt, linen shirt. It's open down the front, and you can see sort of like the laces, the cord too, but it's quite puffy sleeves, but brought in at the wrists. It's rather stretched at the moment. It's probably, you figure it's probably been made a few years ago, and he's put on quite a bit of weight, hence the button firing off. But he doesn't look armed. He looks very red, very sweaty. You can actually see beads of perspiration forming, and not just forming on his brow, but actually trickling down his face, and two sort of like armpit wet patches, because he's still got his hands up. You do notice, both Hazra and Gulliver, that there seems to be like a crowd.
Gulliver's going to say,
put your hands down, sir. It's don't worry. We were just asked to stop you by our Fiesta. I don't know whether or not maybe the Guildmistress wants to ask you more questions about your wares, but put your hands down, and we'll go and see what it's all about.
Yeah, he sort of like stands there, and he sort of like looks at you, and you sort of like put your hands down, and he just sort of like flicks down to Hazra's spear point, which is quite near his oversized belly, and he sort of like looks sort of like almost like
Do as the boy.
As if to say, I'm not putting my hands down when that spear is still pointing at my gut.
Do as the boy says.
And he sort
Put
of
hands down and walk towards the theist.
do you remove your spear?
No. I will pull it back just
in which case
like that.
he sort of like keeps his hands up like this. He's not putting his spears down, his hands down when there's a spear to say, both of you just make a perception roll. He's sort of like, just to let you know, Gulliver, he's sort of like sliding along the building, keeping his back to the thing. Hazra, you can hear various mutters behind you. Things like you can catch, obviously, keen. This is a bit of excitement in a otherwise boring part of time. You can hear people saying, "Oh, I think he's done something wrong. Has somebody gone to get the town guard? This seems really exciting." Oh, and then you hear a child says, "I hope he wet himself. I hope he keeps him with that spear." And there's also like quite an excitement going on as the tailor sort of like slowly moves very slowly to one side. Let me just put on a character sort of.
Do you want me to just send you a photo?
Here we go. This is a mage, but it looks very similar to him. There he is. He doesn't have a staff or anything, and he sort of like is moving along. By the way, the footmen are sort of like they've put the sedan chair down and they're sort of like relaxing, but they keep looking at each other. You can see them shrugging their shoulders as if to say, "I don't know what's going on here." And so the tailor's making short progress down this side, and we'll move back to Hengist. So you've got Boris behind you, cowering in the corner. You've got your dagger in the head of the snake and pinned it to the floor of the sedan. What would you like to do?
There we go. Almost did a Hazra then. So Hengist is going to he's going to turn to Boris and he's going to say, "Are you all right?"
Yeah, but Boris says, "Oh, I don't know. I think I might be having a heart attack. Oh, it was enormous. I've never seen anything so big. It just sprang out and went for her."
It's all right. It's gone now.
He's all like, it's gone now. He says, "You've got your dagger in its head." Yeah, as the snake goes. like this, like where, like Bartleby, you're having visions back to black tentacles, by the way. As this snake's on going like this and twitching. Yes, Bartleby, what would you like to do?
I guess I'm going to stay with Lady Eliza until she's fully recovered, and waiting for somebody.
Yeah, so she's sort of like laid back. She's still got the cowl up over her head, and she obviously had it covered, and she's sort of like back now, so the cowl's sort of like this. She's moaned once, but she doesn't seem to be conscious at the moment. Do you wish to get into the carriage? Do you wish to get out the carriage? Her out the carriage? Do you wish to console her, or just watch her? Watch her chest as it goes up. And
would it be fair to assume that right now her main...
Why are we making Bartleby sound like some sex crave?
Because I'm the one who made the vow. Nobody else made a vow, and now I'm the lady of the light.
There is temptation. There's temptation around every circle.
Say about if the hat fits.
Yeah, well, what would you like to do?
Don't break the habit.
My best guess right now is that she just needs a little bit of an energy boost. This probably drained a lot of her energy. So I'm gonna try and do
prayer.
Just give me Viagra.
Prayer of Viagra.
Kiss of life. Kiss of
Kiss of energy and life. Channel my goddess through her to.
All
to
right.
make her.
Okay then. Yeah. Where would you like to touch her?
On an appropriate place like her arm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You sort of like take her hand in your hand and pray to your goddess. Yeah. It's just a folk magic, isn't it?
Yeah. Here's the folk roll.
You can't fail for another one, surely. Oh yes, and you think Amriel is actually quite approving of this, and you sort of like feel the energy flow into her, and she sort of like slowly seems to be coming round. Hazra and Gulliver, what would you two like to do? You're currently the crowd's getting more. The vicar's getting the tailor's getting the tailor. The tailor,
like the whole clergy.
Yeah, it's a wedding. The tailor is getting sweatier and sweatier. You notice that Hazra to your left, the entourage is all sort of like looking out the door, and you can hear these mutterings of, "Well, I knew he would end up like this. I never liked the man at all." And what one of the boys sort of like says, Skew him like a pig, mister. like
Oliver's looking at shock at Hazra, and then sort of like looking at Hazra and then looking back at the spear, and he's going to say, Hazra, I think Bartleby said, stop the tailor.
I think
Aren't you going a bit far? Well, if somebody says close the door, you don't rush at it and impale it with your spear. You just close it.
But it's the way Bartleby shouted it. He was frantic. Something has happened. I don't know what, but we need to find out. We need to get the tailor to Bartleby so Bartleby can ask him.
He's not going to move. Look at him, poor man.
Yeah, so you're
I'm behind him. Look, he's moving forward. Move, man, move.
And he suddenly realizes that there's no longer a building behind him, and you sort of like the footman, by the way, just sort of like steps out the way as if to say, "This is more than my job's worth." This, he's probably thinking to himself, "I'm just hired to carry the chair. That's it." And he sort of like comes in, and he sort of like sees Hazra with his dagger still in the flopping snake. He probably can't see you healing Eliza in the sedan, but Boris suddenly becomes aware of the tailor, and he's still sort of like crouched down at the floor, and he turns round, and as he turns round, he sees the tailor, and he points at him, and he says, "Murderer! Murderer!" like this, and you suddenly hear the very quietly to start off with, you hear a sort of go across the crowd, and then you hear somebody shout, "Murderer!" and somebody shouts, "Murderer!" like this, and the tailor goes deathly white as the
as Boris makes his accusation, and
yeah.
the crowd pick it up. Can Gulliver wants to be watching the tailor, the merchant, to see whether or not he can judge his reaction.
Yeah, you can.
Whether or not he's surprised as everybody else, or whether or not he's.
Yeah, you can roll your insight.
I got a critical success.
Yeah, and you sort of like you actually physically see the colour drain from the tailor's face, which is quite impressive since he was all hot and red, and he just sort of like sways a bit as the crowd starts to chant, and then he just sort of like faints or collapses onto the floor. Just to let you know, Gulliver, you think it was a real reaction. It wasn't put on or something. He literally seems shocked. So somebody does shout for the crowd, "They killed him! They've killed him!" You know, and
points to the person with the spear.
Yeah. And people start to go, "Yeah!" Somebody says, "Poke the bastard!" Well, I like this, and somebody says, "Let's have a hanging."
A cabbage flies from the crowd.
Yeah, and tomatoes are sort of like flows, and Hazard kebabs it.
I feel the urge to say, "Are you not entertained?"
So we pass back to Hengist, I think.
So Hengist, he's going to cross over to the merchants and sort of like just extend his arm out to haul up to Boris and start to offer to haul him up, and says, "I think we should probably get."
Are you leaving Dagger?
Oh, he's leaving Dagger and Snake
yeah.
laughing away for the moment.
So you move over to Boris and help him up. He sort of like reacts very positively to be brought to his feet by you, and he sort of like positions himself so he's slightly to one side but definitely behind you. So the tail, you're in between the fainted Tailor and Boris, and he sort of like, Boris looks at you and points to the guy, says, "He killed her! He killed her!" Like that.
I know, and we can hand him over to the city guard when they arrive. But in the meantime, we need to get you to a place of safety.
And we'll pass over to Bartleby.
Bartleby would like to leave the carriage and close up the curtain, and then make his way around to get with his cohorts, make his way through the crowd to find them.
Okay, which side do you want to go, top or bottom?
Top, because that's where the Tailor area was, and Bartleby it probably isn't too certain of what's happening with them yet.
Okay. So you sort of like go round the top. So we'll take it out of turn order now, because you're all sort of like here together, and the crowd's getting. It's not threatening. It's more celebratory. And, there's a lot of cheering, and they're sort of like saying, there's cries of, "Well done, you got him. Yeah, murderer, let's have a hanging." And pretty soon, Bartleby, up at your top end, you notice that the city guard has arrived and sort of like sees the situation, and there's two of them, and they sort of like look at you, and they sort of like recognize you, because you frequent Lindo, and especially round the streets where they probably frequent as well, because of chances of crime. And in good sort of like guard fashion, one of them turns to you and says, "What's happening here then?"
I can explain completely, but I believe the problem
you usually can.
There was a snake thrown into the carriage, possibly by accident, and I believe we know who may be involved. The problem is the crowd. I gesture about to the...
Who was in the carriage?
Two important people. People important to the Merchants Guild.
Right. He sort of like looks round the corner and sees the Tailor fainted on the floor. He says, "Is he dead?"
No, I think he fainted. Gulliver say, look around. He's good. Gulliver wants to kneel down and sort of like undo this top button of his tunic or something, just to try to.
Why are you undoing the top button of your tunic?
No, of his tunic.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were just getting down again.
Honestly, you've got it on your mind.
Yeah. So you're
September.
You're crouched down next to this portly tailor undoing. I mean, he's got like lace there, so there's not.
And Gulliver's going to say, I think he just fainted. He's not dead.
The guard sort of like says, he looks at you, Mr. Bartleby, says, I think we better disperse. Maybe we could take him into his shop and deal with it in here. They put a like point back to the thing, and Boris shouts out, "He killed her!" like this, and the guard says, "Thank you, Mr. Beckoncall. We will deal with this now." And the city guard sort of like do a quick comparison of size between their spears and Hazra's spear, and sort of like nod, almost like approving. One of them sees Hengist and says, "Oh, you're here, are you?" As they remember Hengist, the ex-town guard, and he says, "Well," he says, "we're better moving him in here." And they sort of like point to the tailor's house, and there's almost like a moan of disappointment, and almost like, oh, like that as the entourage starts to separate, and a couple more guards appear, and they start to disperse the crowd, and they sort of like look at the tailor's fainted body and says, "We better bring him in here."
I don't think I can pick him up. He looks very heavy.
We'll just drag him.
Shouldn't we put a guard around him in case somebody tries to stop him from talking?
He sort of like looks down and says, "I think he's out for the count. Let's get him in there." Who's going to attempt to move the
That's right. He's going to be looking around at the buildings because he just.
That's right. You just look around at the buildings. I'll sort of like look round, and I'll go around and sort of like grab his
feet?
No,
Under his arms?
That would just be. I want to grab his arms. I want to try to get him in as nicely as possible. I don't want him around by his feet. So I want to try to also try to maybe get my hands underneath his armpits and see whether or not I can.
Okay. Hazra, where are you staying where you are to have a look around, or are you moving somewhere else?
No, I want to stay where I am because I want to look at all the points. I want to be looking around at the windows and see if anybody could take a pot shot at him. I'm more worried about somebody mopping up loose ends.
Okay. Bartleby and Hengist, what are going to be your plans? You see Gulliver trying to going down to move to follow, not obey, but to carry out the town guard's request to put the tailor into the room, into the tailor shop.
I'll look to see if Hengist is helping Gulliver in this task before I act.
Hengist is going to turn to Boris and say, "I think we should, or I should take the Guildmistress and the sedan to the hotel and get her in her room. This place is ripe for a second ambush. We don't want her attacked another time."
Okay, so what are you going to? Are you putting Boris in the sedan and then ordering the sedan off?
He's going to say to Boris, "Are you going to come with me, or are you going to go with the others and the tailor to talk to the guard?"
He sort of like looks at you and says, "I'm not talking to that murderer."
That's fine. In that case, do you want to accompany me with the Guildmistress to the inn so that we can?
Yeah, so he sort of like hops into the sedan. Bartleby, what's going to be your plan?
I'm going to go help Gulliver then. Drag this body, add my Bartleby strength.
Okay then. So both of you just roll a brawn roll for me, please.
As they're about to be, your minds will be blown.
Yeah, you sort of like both try to sort of like lift this guy and semi-drag him, and with no element of success. But as Hengist and the sort of like the carriage continues on its way and progresses, you notice that you notice that some of the other people come out, and maybe a couple of guards helps you to sort of like take him into the tailor's room. What
Gulliver's going to turn around to the guards and say, would you mind ushering the rest of the people out so that we can find out what's happened and get to the bottom of this as quickly as possible, so you can get on your way?
They sort of like sigh a bit and
I know it's a bit of a chore, but
he says, "Well, we didn't make this mess. Can I just remind you about that?"
I completely understand, but by all means, have you heard of the Hairy Hobgoblin Tavern?
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to meet us there one evening, because we do frequent that place fairly often, we'll of course buy you an ale or two for your trouble.
They sort of like exchange glances with each other and says, "Well, only if it's a couple."
Yes, sir.
Each.
Yes, by all means.
Yeah. Okay then. So you sort of like after this discussion, you sort of like leave the town guards to the tailor. You go back outside, and Hazra's still on standing guard, keeping his eye on all the buildings, etc. You can see sort of like further down the street now. You can see the sedan chair making its way through the streets. You assume heading off to its next stop, which you remember would be the Sugary Mouse. You can see that Hengist is strolling next to it as he goes along, and it's
going to turn around to Bartleby and say, "What happened, Bartleby? All of a sudden you shouted, 'Stop the tailor!'"
Just so, are you walking in the direction of the sedan chair, or are you all three stationary? It's just so I know how far it'll get in front.
Well, once they've got the chappie inside, Hazra will then back into the building and cover the door, because Hazra's main concern is keeping this guy alive, so we can find out information.
Okay then. So yeah, you sort of like have this discussion. So Bartleby, you can reply to Gulliver.
And Bartleby is
We're inside we're inside the. I know it doesn't say that we're inside, but we would.
Yeah, we're all inside. Yeah.
Okay then. Yeah. Cool.
Well, I heard the scream. I opened the curtain. I saw a snake on the floor coming out of the pants. I assumed the tailor was one of the assassins. I told you to get the tailor. I'm glad you guys successfully did. I'm sure that he has connections to our enemies.
No, I agree, Bartleby. What tailor would be able to hold the garment and not realize there's a snake inside?
A skilled one, at least.
Or maybe he made the breeches ages ago, and they'd been in the back of the tailor shop, and he didn't know that something had been put into it, and he didn't disturb the snake because he was so holding them so carefully so as not to crease them, or that he didn't disturb the snake until they'd been put into the cat. He didn't seem like the type of person. He seemed very shocked when people were starting to accuse him of murder.
Perhaps it was one of his underlings. He, not knowing that we were coming along, one of his underlings working with the assassins.
Oh, it could have been anybody, just...
But The weight, the weight of the snake. I know, but snakes are heavy. The breeches are not heavy. You pick up breeches, they're light. They're like a feather. They're not like a feather, but you know what I mean. But
Well,
with snake inside,
Shall we just kill him now, Hazra, or shall we question him?
no, we can't kill him now, Gulliver. You should know that, my friend, because we need to find out who hired him to do this.
He's the connection.
I agree, Bartleby. He has something to do with this. Let's wake him up and do a mind meld.
It can be done.
Did Hengist say what he was doing? Is he bringing the lady and Boris back to?
I don't think he said. He said he was going to the. I heard him say he was going to the tavern. I agree. He's putting the Guildmistress in safety.
That's good then. He was on the side where the tailor was coming through, though. It would be good to ask him what he felt of the tailor or saw of the entourage.
I can find out what the tailor knows, but I don't think the information that I would get to him would be 100% precise if he's been threatened or if he's still unconscious.
Well, let's wake the man up, and let's I will put my spear over here in the corner, so it's not as threatening. And maybe we can wake him up and talk to him.
Okay, so let's move away from, let's cut scene, fade to black, and come back up when the carriage with the sedan chair is arriving. Now, Hengist, the next place on the route is actually the sugary mouse, which is the sweet maker. Is the plan to carry on with the route or to bypass that and go straight to the restful inn?
He is wanting to go straight to the restful inn to get her into a room that he can guard properly.
Okay then. So
they will bypass it.
Yeah, so make your influence roll to get them to change the route.
He's going to use a point of luck to re-roll.
Cool.
That's probably still not going to work, but never mind.
Yeah, you sort of like there's a bit of argument to and fro about changing, but in the end, sort of like Boris sort of like takes command of it, and you make your way up to the sugary mouse, and rather than saying which side it's on, we'll say it's on your side, because you're likely to move around to whatever side it is. And as you approach the sugary mouse, you see the line of the sweet makers in very fine white pristine starched bakers and servants uniform, and they all seem to have trays of what can only be called as delicacies, like fruit pieces that's been dipped in sugar, and this strange new concoction that came from abroad that is meant to be sweet and milky called chocolat. And there seems to be a whole load of them all piled up with what appears to be silver plates, and they're all sort of like there. They look a little bit annoyed, because obviously they were meant to be here sometime, and the carriage sort of like pulls, as a stand chair, sort of like pulls up, and they're sort of like the head sweet maker, who doesn't seem from this area. He definitely doesn't look like a Lindonian, and he's sort of like, he has a strange accent as he talks, and he sort of like says, "I give you sugary sweets from far away that could cause your mouth and taste buds to tingle and jump with excitement. And he sort of like takes one of the trays from his colleagues and sort of like steps forward towards the sedan chair.
Hengist will take a slight step forward and say, "Thank you, I'll pass it over," and then he's going to extend a hand out for the plate.
Yeah, the guy says, "Yes, of course. You offer the gifts." And the guy sort of like elevates the volume of his voice a bit. He says, "These come from the sugary mouse, the delicatessence of the faraway country. Never before will your mouth have been tantalized with such tasty morsels."
So Hengist will take the plate, and then he will walk to sedan chair, and if it opens for a hand to come out, he will put it in. If not, he'll pass it over. If not, he'll sort of like just carefully put it into the.
Yeah. So Boris is
looking at. He wants to look at it. He just wants to have a quick scan as he's passing it over to make sure there's nothing else apart from sweets on there.
Okay. Yeah. Roll your perception skill.
No, just sweets.
Yeah, you have a look. There don't seem to be anything, and as you sort of like get near the carriage, Boris's hands come out, and you can hear some, and then all of a sudden Boris shouts from inside, "Excuse me, do you have any other fine delicacies that we may be able to tempt and tantalize our taste buds with?" And the guy sort of says, of course we have plenty here," and sort of like reaches for another plate, and he doesn't move to the sedan chair. He gives it to you, Hengist, as if you're some kind of porter, and you sort of like hand it over, and Boris's hands come out and says, you hear him rough it, nice. And we'll skip back to the tailor shop.
Gulliver will say to
Bartleby, can you bring him round? I think he just fainted. He might have hit his head though as he fell to the ground.
I'll see what I can do.
Can we sort of like put him in a chair somehow so he's not just sort of like laid on the
yeah,
the
you probably put him in a chair as you came in. I will
wants to sort of like be stood in front of him so that when he comes round, Gulliver is the person that he sees.
Yeah, I think
Hazra will be out of his line of sight basically.
Okay, cool. So Bartleby, give me either healing or first aid roll. It's up to you.
Okay, I was going to say healing was my choice.
Yeah.
Because I have a healer's kit. I might have something that smells strange that helps.
Or just a slap around the face might do the job. Yeah, and you...
Now he pulls out the critical.
Yeah, and he's
somebody who's fainted.
He sort of like slowly comes round and sort of like... He has his eyes still closed and he smiles as if he's having a pleasant dream. And then it almost like dawns on him where he is, and he sort of goes... and opens one eye and looks around and just says, "Oh my."
Gulliver say,
Don't be frightened. It's fine. I'm going to tell you something that's happened. It would seem that there was an attempt on the Guildmistress's life.
Oh no!
Okay, this next bit sounds bad. Well, it sounds bad for you, but we can get to the bottom of this. It would seem that in the breeches, which looked very nice breeches, by the way. I liked how the colours... Well, anyway, in the breeches...
They are fine, of the fine silks that I have bought and been saving for. So I was so pleased when the mistress granted us audience. People will never wear my linen underwear ever again. I am doomed as a tailor.
Unfortunately, there was a... how can I put this? There was a poisonous snake hidden within the folds of the breeches.
He goes, "What?" snake in my breeches?
Well,
Never.
I think it is, boys. I think it
Never.
is.
I handcrafted those myself. There was no snake in them at all. Roll your insight roll, please.
I got a 92,
It-
but Gulliver's going to carry on, and he's going to say,
And I believe you, but unfortunately there was lots of people who saw you hand them over, and well, to be honest with you, in their eyes you look kind of guilty, but I have a solution for it. I'm part of the Order of the Kraken, the Order of the Sorceries. Surely you know of us.
He sort of like nods.
I have a way to prove your innocence, and it's via magic.
He looks quite shocked at that. Just so you know, your insight roll actually shows. I mean, he doesn't have a deceit roll to roll against you at all. So yours would have succeeded no matter what. With your insight, Gulliver, you've dealt with a lot of merchants, you've traded prices, etc. You think that this tailor is 100% telling the truth, and that he didn't do anything with breeches or snakes.
okay, Gulliver's going to say,
It's obvious that you are a noble merchant, and you wouldn't have tried to kill the Guildmistress, somebody who would have obviously helped your business enormously, and well, we'll make sure that the people know that, and the Guildmistress knows that, but the snake must have got in there somehow. Were the breeches kept in an office or somewhere that...
I put the final touch to it in a rush. We wanted something fantastic to show the Guildmistress. We didn't know until a few hours before her arrival that she would be gracing us with their visit. I was very pushed. I had to sew as fast as my stubby little fingers could take it to try to get them ready, and my finest stitching as well.
Did anybody else have a hand in their making, or did you see anybody close to them? Have you employed anybody recently?
They are all my own work. He looks at the rest of the people, his entourage, his colleagues. Nobody in this room has stitches as fine as mine. They are unique to the whole of Lindo and the surrounding area.
We're not disputing the stitches, good sir, but somehow the snake got into the breeches. Well,
He says, there was no snake in the breeches. I did not put a snake in the breeches.
Then how did it get in the carriage?
I have no idea. Do you not think, good sirs, that if there was a snake in the breeches, I would feel it, sliming around, writhing, as I carried the breeches out? And where would I put a snake in a pair of breeches?
oh. Sorry, it's just Medivac having his head rubbed by his wife.
It's like a good luck
A
charm.
lucky charm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. She don't rubs my belly, but we're on camera.
Yeah.
Gulliver will look to Bartleby and say,
Bartleby, was the top of the wagon, was it covered?
Yes, it's a sedan chair. Yeah, the only entrances would be through the curtains on either side.
Yeah, there was a roof to it, but was there anybody in your entourage who helped you assemble the pants in a way to display when you brought them out? They looked quite folded. Is there anybody who helped you with that?
He says, "It is all my own work. I do not believe in plagiarism or copying anybody else's style. I have been a merchant all my life. My body is attuned to every sneak. Do I look like I would spend the time sewing snakes into breeches?"
When he says that, Hasra will say over his shoulder, "Then being a master tailor, surely you would know the weight of your breeches. It would weigh more."
He says, "Exactly, good sir. There was no snake in those breeches."
Gulliver's going to turn away from him, and as he does that, he wants to put his hand on Bartleby's shoulder, and as he does that, he's going to cast a spell, and the spell that he's going to cast is this. When I touch
disintegrate priest.
target one.
Hoping it's not rack.
Yeah, okay.
That's the spell. So he sort of like turns away so that the merchant, as he puts his hand on Bartleby's shoulder, and as he does that, he closes his eyes, and when he opens them, they're all sort of like watered over. And I don't know whether or not Bartleby's going to resist it or not.
I don't think so. Bartleby's had it before. You just need to make a roll. It's going to happen. I just need to know whether or not it's a crit or a fumble.
Okay.
I'm happy for it to go. There's no need to roll actually as well. Yeah. So you're now in telepathic link with Bartleby.
And he's going to say, "If the snake wasn't in the breeches, Bartleby, it means that it was always already in there. And there was only one other person in there, and that was Boris."
Let's just leave that scene and nip back. I can imagine it in a film that you say there was only one person left in there, and that was Boris, and it almost like flips over to the sedan chair that's set off again, and is just arriving at the restful night inn outside. As always, Hengist, everybody is out there. They've been out for quite a while, and as the sedan chair pulls up and stops, you hear from inside this sound of Boris, and he's going, "Hengist, psst, psst, Hengist."
Yeah, Hengist will whisper back, "Yes."
And he says, "This is not my Eliza." And that seems to be a good place to take the break, so people can have a think about what's going on or what they wish to do. And so we're going to have a 10-minute break. The time is 8:30 or half past the hour. So we will be back at 22 the hour to see what happens in the rest of today's session. So please go, grab a drink, stretch your legs, and be back in 10. And we will be as well. happen?
Let's cut to 3 weeks later. We're sat in the
3 weeks later when
yes,
you come back.
I can't believe we saved the Guild Mistress.
Okay, so at the end of last adventure, Longshanks is just leaving.
I am still here.
So at the end of last session, the party was split up across the city. Hazra, Gulliver, and Bartleby were interrogating a suspect who is thought to have sewn a snake into a set of breeches. Notice I'm using breeches and not the term pants, because that could cause confusion where we live, and I'm not too sure whether or not Americans have trousers, because you call them pants.
Yeah,
I think pants mean trousers or breeches.
Pants in the UK it's underwear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So if I said he had a snake sewed into his underwear.
gotcha. That would,
But
Yeah.
in the United States, pants are trousers, aren't they?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not using the term pants, because it would send mixed messages. While over the opposite side of Lindo, Hengist has been accompanying the carriage and has visited the sweetmaker where they enjoyed delicatesses that tantalised the taste buds. And they have just arrived at the restful night, thank you. And just as they got there and stopped ready to meet the entourage, the colleagues that are prepared, Boris gained Hengist's attention and said,
She's not my... I can't remember her name. I'm awful with names.
Eliza,
thank you.
Yeah,
She's not
you
my
can
Eliza.
write it down, you know.
and so he said something about that this was not the Eliza. It was not Eliza. So let's start off with Hengist and the sedan chair, because this is where we left it. So Boris makes this accusation, this startling discovery, and Hengist, what would you like to do?
So Hengist is he's going to turn to the carriage and he's going to open it slightly, open the curtain slightly to speak to Boris directly, and then he's going to whisper back and say, "What do you mean not your Eliza? Never mind. Perhaps we should go back to the guild house and look and
Yeah,
find
it's
out what's
sort of
going
like as you look inside, you see Eliza. She seems to be sat forward with her cowl over her head. Her hands are on her lap. There's various plates on the floor that has sort of like various sugary mice and stuff half eaten on it. And Boris sort of like says, "It's not her."
But it was her earlier.
When
Surely.
earlier?
Surely when we picked her up. Who?
No, it wasn't, and don't call me Shirley.
I am as bamboozled as you are. I thought underneath the cowl was Eliza, but no, it is. He sort of like puts his hand over his mouth to almost like stop the sound going towards the woman. It is not her.
I think we should go back to the guild house and then we can challenge her there.
To our guild house.
Yes, well, we need to go back there, don't we? That's the next point in the route, and it would be what's expected. But we can put her in one of the rooms and question her there.
Should we talk to the people outside?
We could say that she's. We could say that she
Got found died.
Died of old age.
No, we could say that she's tired and wants to retire to her bed before this evening's extravagances.
Good idea. Make the announcement. And he sort of like goes with the curtain, and Hengist, you turn round and people are sort of like looking.
So Hengist will turn around and then in a loud voice and say, "The guild mistress is tired and will return to her chambers at the guild house to rest before tonight's party."
So using your staggering charisma skill, you may use, if you've got oratory, you can use that, but if not, it will just be a more difficult influence roll.
Fails spectacularly.
You hear sort of like mutters. What? And you sort of like signal to the people, and they sort of like start walking off. And they sort of like say, "Well, this is an outrage. We have been," and you sort of like hear them muttering as you set off back to the guild house, and back to Bartleby, Gulliver, Hazra, and the very sweaty Tailor.
Bartleby will give a very questioning look at Gulliver, based on what he just was told mentally.
Yeah,
and then,
that was telepathy, wasn't it? It was done telepathically. Yeah.
And then Bartleby will turn to the Tailor and say, "I suppose we must be going then. It appears that you..."
And Gulliver will break the telepathic link, and he'll turn around to the merchant and he'll say, "Don't worry. We believe you that you had nothing to do with this. It's best to keep in your shop, and we'll talk to the Guild Mistress and the City Watch, and don't worry. Your name will be cleared."
Okay.
And with that, he's just turning, and he's heading out the door.
And is Bartleby and Hazra following?
Following.
Hazra has no idea what's going on, so he's looking at the tailor, and he's like, "But you gave him the pants. Why are they leaving?"
And as Gulliver's going out the door, he said, "Keep up, Hazra, keep up."
"Well, what do you mean keep up? Where are you going? Gulliver, where are you going?"
Just trust Hazra.
Yeah, so they're probably out on this street now. The tailor's just sort of like, he's got his head down, but he's obviously looking up at you, Hazra. What would you like to do?
He's looking up at me. What's his facial expression like?
Inside.
Is he smiling, or is he like worried inside?
Yeah, by all means.
I don't want to do insight.
He looks quite sweaty, red, and nervous.
Hazra will look down and say, "Now I know where you live, so if this comes back, I will be coming back for you." And he will follow Bartleby and Gulliver.
Okay, so as you...
I'll grab a spear as you go, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. So as you leave the building, you do notice that there's still quite a congregation outside, probably a little bit more than your daily sermons, Bartleby. So about maybe 9-10 people just sort of like dotted around, and you do notice as you walk out that there's been some rotten vegetables chucked at the tailor's building, and the tailor, as soon as Hazra leaves, the door of the tailor shop closes, and you also hear several locking devices swinging into action, and a little sign comes up, Bartleby and Gulliver, that you can read that says "closed," in the window. Whereabouts are you three heading?
We know. Well, Gulliver knows the direction of the that the carriage went. So he's going to start heading that way as quick as he can. So his running speed's going to be like 12.
Okay. And what's the plan of action? Just to...
he wants to locate the carriage, and then once he gets there, he'll.
So, are you going to carry on the route that was predetermined that you have seen before because of the map that you saw?
Yeah,
if you remember, you went upstairs and a map was produced.
Yeah, as far as he was concerned, from here we were going to the sweet shop, and then we were going to the
restful night, and then back to the guild house. So, I mean, obviously, you're not going to catch up with the sedan chair.
Yeah. Can I just, as we're running along, Hazra will catch up with Gulliver and say, Gulliver, what is happening? Why are we running away?
Can I just ask something before then? As far as we're concerned at the moment, it's going to the restful night. It's not going back to the guild.
Well,
that's right. Yeah.
He was going to go to the restful night, and
then it would go back to the the route was after the restful night. It would return to that was the last thing on the route, so it would quite naturally go back to the guild house. Then it wouldn't just sort of like stay there. But remember, you've been talking and doing things for quite a significant time. I mean, as you look down the streets, you can't just see the sedan chair a little bit ahead of you or anything. So you're literally going to follow the path, the route that it would have taken.
Okay.
Until
that's fine. I thought. I mean, I can do it. I thought Hengist was going to the restful night and holding her in a room there. So that's Gulliver's initial plan, is to head to the restful night. As he's going there, as he's sort of like half doing a sort of like a funny limpy run, and Hazra catches up to him and says, "What's going on?" Is that what you said, Rich?
Yes. What is happening? Why are we running?
Gulliver sort of like, look,
we've made a mistake, Hazra. We've made an awful mistake. You nearly killed an innocent man. Didn't have the snake. The snake wasn't in the butchers.
What was the snake? Boris?
Operation names.
But how would he keep hold of a snake for that long?
Well, he could have had it anywhere. If he's an assassin, it might have been his pet. It might have been what they get the poison from. I don't know.
But he's known Eliza for years, hasn't he? They've been friends for years, apparently.
You don't understand civilized culture. It's all about getting one over on each other, and who can be the highest.
I agree. Your city folk are very strange to me. Okay, I will follow your lead, Gulliver. Just tell me what to do when you want me to do it.
Okay, well, don't kill anybody.
Okay,
Nobody?
you sort of like carry on having the discussion and sort of like making your way back to the guild house. And when you actually get back there, you notice that I think we've actually got a map for that. Yeah, here we are. When you actually get back to the guild house, Hengist will have arrived first. So, Hengist, what's going to be your plan when you actually arrive back at the guild house? What will you be advising people to do, etc.?
So, Hengist, when they get back, Hengist and Boris would be escorting this woman who's not Eliza, apparently not Eliza, and then putting her in.
Is she unconscious still?
You wouldn't know that.
Right.
And you decide what you want to do, Hengist, rather than I'll decide what Boris does.
That's fine. So he'll be advising with Boris to put Eliza, who's not Eliza, in Boris's room, and then he'll hold we'll hold her there until the others get back, and then we can work out what to do at that point.
But Boris seems really sort of like concerned and worried. He keeps sort of like saying things like, Where's my Eliza? Where is my Eliza? I have no idea where he is. And he doesn't sort of like help or assist. He seems to be very one-track mind, almost like focused on this. Where is my Eliza? Almost as if he's becoming almost like paranoid about it. He stops to sort of like say, why are you putting her in my room? And then sort of like frantically paces backwards and forwards. And it's after some time, a fair amount of talent that Bartleby and Gulliver and Hazard, you return to the room and to the Guildmasters, the central place, and you notice that Hengist is on guard to the room, Boris's room that you knew from beforehand, and Boris is sort of like sat on the sort of like the benches at the front. He's looking extremely forlorn, extremely worried, very concerned as you sort of like walk in. What would you like to do?
Gulliver sort of like goes in and he sort of like slams through the door. Doesn't slam through the door, but he opens it quickly, goes in, sees Boris, and immediately starts to cast a spell.
Okay, then go for it.
So the spell that I am casting is going to be, I'll show you it when it comes up, probably know which one it is.
Rack.
I'm going to assume that it's the components modified. So he sort of like opens the door, he sees Boris, and he immediately sort of like stops, and he holds out his hand and he starts to mutter spells of power, and a ball appears in his hand, and as it appears, and then he sort of like closes his hand, and he wants to try to adhere Boris to anything that he's currently on. If he's on the chair.
Okay, so you have an option. His feet are on the floor, his butt is on a bench, and his hands are on a table. Well, his forearms are probably on the table rather than his hands.
Okay, so he's going to do his forearms because that's what he's probably going to see when he goes.
Okay, cool.
Goes in. So his spell will be that. It's going to take what, 12 seconds to cast.
Yeah, and that's not a huge amount of time. Roll to cast the spell first.
Okay, so that's my standard roll, 25 out of 95. It can be resisted with endurance.
He doesn't seem to be able to resist it very much at all, and his forearms immediately are held fast on the table, and quite naturally he's sort of like all of a sudden quite panicky, as he sort of like tries to move one to prop his head up. He suddenly finds that they are stuck to the table, and you see this worried face look goes across his face as he's stuck there, and all three of you come into the room and cast the spell, and Hengist is there, and he's looking very, very scared.
Guard him, Hasra.
Yes, Gulliver. And Hazard will go over to his side, and he'll be there with his spear, just ready.
Yeah, you hear Boris go, ah!
Gulliver's going to go over and he's going to put his sort of like his most scariest face on that he can, which isn't really scary at all, but he likes to think it is, and he'll go, "You thought you were going to get away with it, didn't you? It was you who put that snake in there. It wasn't in the breeches. It was you,
Gulliver.
Tried to kill us so that you could be the new guild mistress."
Gulliver, before you go any further, Eliza's not Eliza. She's someone else. It's someone else is pretending to be Eliza.
No,
I've got her in the room in
how do you know
the guard.
I've had her in the room. She's
No,
I've got her in the room under guard.
Bartleby. and how do you know this? What is different about her?
Yeah, and Boris
She
seems
saw her
to.
come out this morning.
The Boris hears this and says, "Tell them! Tell them!"
She's not the same person.
And
Please explain.
you've seen it with your own eyes?
Well, she was acting very strange. She was holding she had her hands on her knees and she wasn't moving and wasn't talking.
She's just been bitten by a snake, man. How would you do the shock to a woman? She did not look like us men.
Bartleby, go and see.
I guess I will. Then Bartleby will shuffle his way on in to do some investigation.
Yeah, cool. This is the room. Yeah, there seems to be a young lady on the bed. Seems to be dressed and has the cloak on. She's almost like curled up, not in a complete fetus position, but definitely curled up. Her back's towards you, her face is to the eastern wall of the room. There's nothing else. There's other things in the room, other furniture, but there's no sort of like giant spiders or anything like that.
Oh, good. I'll just say from I close the door and say, "Are you awake, Eliza?"
And you notice there's a faint movement of the body, but it's more a tensing up rather than a relaxing moment or something, as if she maybe was pretending to be asleep, but since after you said that question, it's sort of like giving it away that she's probably not asleep. She's more pretending to be asleep now.
I'll just say, I'm here to see that you are well after the snake attack.
You hear a voice says, "I am fine. I do not need aid."
Well, see, because after a traumatic event like that, it's good to consume some water and for.
I have been given water. I am fine, thank you, kind sir. I just wish to be alone and sleep.
I completely understand that desire, but unfortunately my training needs to be to make sure that you are not going to suffer from the venom coming back.
I am feeling fine and healthy. Thank you so much for the wonderful prayer that you bestowed on me.
Yes, Amriel is great, isn't she?
I was going to say, but you, Mr. Bartleby, are greater. No.
Seeing I'm not getting anywhere with her, I'm going to put on my suspicious face and go back through the door. And I'll go to closing the door behind me. I'll go to the group and quietly say, "The lady is quite evasive. She did not want me to see her."
But what is it with you people?
I think that is a sign of something evasive behavior. Is a sign of deceit.
So Hengist takes the murderer's word for it, and you're taking her word.
Oh no, quite the opposite, Gulliver.
Can I play the middleman and say, if that is not Elijah, where is Elijah? Elijah.
Elijah.
This is Toto. Where is Eliza?
And actually,
Who's in the room?
let me just come in at that point, because as Hazra, when you say, "But where is Eliza?" the door opens to the entrance to the guild hall, and in staggers, and I do mean staggers, enters Eliza. Her dress is torn and frayed in several places. It looks like it was some kind of posh outfit, but it's all been torn. You notice that her knees are very where her knees would be on her frock are very muddy. You notice her sleeves torn. You notice that she has mud and small wounds like a bleeding lip and a slight cut over one eye. And she literally opens the door and almost staggers in, and she sort of like falls onto you, Hengist, and sort of like props open, and Boris sort of like goes and tries to get up to her, but suddenly finds that his arms are still stuck to the table, and he just sort of like howls, Eliza, we have found you. And Eliza sort of like draped over Hengist, sort of like looks up at all four of you, and she says, I have been most stupid.
Gulliver will say, the Guildmistress, where's the Guildmistress?
She convinced me last night to go with this plan. Boris knew nothing of it. She said that she wanted to go to the, well, a rather undesirable area of the town. Just me and her. And we were, and she goes, set upon. Boris is go, no! And she says, no, Boris, fear not. That is still intact. But I am battered. I ran for my life. I am such a coward. I left her there.
No. We need directions. Where?
My fate. Why am I ever going to be a Guildmistress ever again? And Boris says, please, my darling, don't cry. You'll set me off. And she's all like, oh, my darling Boris, we have made such a mess of this.
I think it's sort of like half carry, half walk her over to the bench and sit her down.
I do not know what to do.
We need to secure the lady in the room.
But Boris tries to go to hug her, and so and just sort of like leans over with his head.
Can I just say at this point, you know now, Chugga Wugga.
I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing with that next. He's going to use on your spear every time you try to chug. Best spell ever. She's going to get a bit of a shock because I am going up to Eliza, and I'm going to sort of like I want to sort of like turn around so she's looking at me.
Yeah.
And as I do that,
I've got a heart attack and die.
And my eyes are going to close again and open, all watered over, and I'm going to do a telepathic link with her.
Okay, yeah.
Which she will be able to resist.
Yeah.
Do I need to do the spell? It's resisted by. Do you want me to link it?
No, you're just doing telepathy, aren't you?
Yeah. So telepathy.
Yeah. So just roll your.
It's resisted, and I got a 70 out of a 95 standard.
Yeah. Can you just roll for me, please, your willpower?
Yeah. I got a 77 out of a 70.
I just need to open something onto my other screen. You got a what, sorry?
I didn't get standard, I got an easy.
Right, yeah, and you start to cast the spell, and you I'm going to type something to you.
looking at my last message to you.
Was it die, the inheritance is mine?
Yeah. There was a bomb underneath your chair. Okay. So she hasn't resisted at all. Just to let you know, I did. I think it's an opposed roll, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a resisted roll.
Yeah. So I got a 41.
Right.
But you've got a 70.
Okay. I want to go back and read her memories, to see whether or not, maybe looking at it with my my streetwise as well, see whether or not I can see what sort of like images of her vision after she left with the Guildmistress, to see whether or not I can pick up a street or the direction that they were heading in. Maybe some major part of Lindo, so I can work out where they might have been going. I'm looking at that she's a bit too hysterical. That's why I've gone through the mind.
So, are you going to share this information with the party once you've finished it?
Yes.
Yeah, it just saves me typing it.
Yeah. Basically, what would probably happen as each of the images pops in to the mind, the telepathic link, and he sort of like sees, he'll sort of like say, they left together.
Yeah. So
they headed north.
So
he'll sort of like give her, and just in case anybody else can add to the information that he's getting, to give them a better idea.
Yeah, so you sort of like, as always with your telepathy spell, see sort of like glimpses of imagery as it forms together. So I'm just going to put my echo on so you know it's the actual imagery. So you see her through her eyes, and you seem to be staring through a window, and you see you and the sedan chair and Boris and the cowed lady getting into it and moving off, and you get that feeling of sadness, maybe even betrayal, i.e. she's betraying somebody else. And then you see the mistress, the Guildmistress, and the Guildmistress comes towards Eliza, and they go round, and there's a carriage with one single horse, and it seems to wind its way through streets, and you just sort of like see glimpses of places that Eliza knows as it goes past, and then it goes out the gate into the slum areas, and you see everything get darker, and then you notice that something or someone jumps out in front of the carriage, and then you see people dragging the Guildmistress, who you saw the night before, out of the carriage and into a room, through a door into a building, and you see Eliza sort of like is dragged out of the wagon, and somebody sort of like comes at her with a knife, and she sort of like brings up a foot in between his legs and turns and half runs, half crawls away, and then from that you actually know the location of where the Guildmistress is, and as you sort of like disconnect from it, she sort of like shudders and looks puzzled at you.
do I know what the area's called?
Yeah, it looks like it was in a similar area to when you were guarding the Herald. Maybe.
Okay, so it's in the old docks.
Yeah, most definitely. If you want.
But do I know, once I get to the old docks, do I have an idea which way to go?
Yeah, you as you move, you will be able to just remember those snippets.
Okay, so Gulliver will break the telepathic link as he's been sort of like going from what he's saying, and he's going to say, "The old docks, the old docks," and
just as you say that, you notice that Eliza has that strange look on her face. You know, as if to say, "How do you know that?" She doesn't say that, but that's what the face looks like.
Okay. Gulliver's going to take note of that, but at the moment,
Eliza sort of like says, "I can remember the way. I could, if I will be of any help to you at all."
Stay here. I know the way. And he's heading out.
Hazra will still be saying, "What we need to secure the imposter. Then, if this is Eliza, who's in the room, we cannot leave her alone with these two. He's stuck to a table. She's in no state to protect herself."
Does your room lock? Do you have a key that can be lock it from the outside?
Yeah, Boris will have that, or there'll be one in the location.
If we lock the door and keep the key in the lock, so she can't pick it or open it from the inside.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Gulliver's gone.
Bartleby will follow.
Yeah, so Gulliver, I mean, even with Gulliver running at top speed.
Yeah, we're like 4 hours ahead. 5 minutes.
Yeah, you know, he's out of breath, and you can.
Can I maybe make a streetwise roll to get the quickest way? Because the way that they went might not necessarily be the quickest way, because they've gone by a horse and cart.
Yeah, by all means.
So could I make a streetwise roll to see whether or not I know a quicker way to actually get there? I'm going to use a point of luck to re-roll that, if I may.
Yeah. You could.
No.
Now, okay, so you head off. Now, I think your hold fast spell must have a range on it.
It was touch when I cast it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it did. It was, but that's not going to be the factor of it. It's going to be the duration once it's cast, which is going to be 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, so it's going to come off.
Yeah,
but
the range was 15 meters, which was the casting range.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
He'll have his arms adhered to the. I mean, he could unbutton his tunic and try to pull his arms out, you know, that way someone could get it. Well, it's probably going to be difficult, but yeah, he's going to be. But I've left him adhered to the.
Yeah, and he'll probably just copied you across and lost Bartleby.
So Hengist would have been the last one out of the guild house, and he would have turned to Eliza and Boris and say, "It seems like the Guildmistress is in the old docks. We're going to go and try and find her. Do not open that door."
Yeah, she sort of, of course, and she sort of like goes over and wraps her arms around Boris, and she sort of like, "Please forgive me, my dear," and he sort of goes, "Of course, I forgive you." You make your way down to the lower part of the town, and you can see that you're down near the docks. And Gulliver, you sort of like walk down, and you keep sort of like looking left and right. Does that make sense as you look?
Sort of trying to pick out the things that I might have seen.
Yeah, and you sort of like you look at the door. Can you see? Are you on this sheet now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you look at the door in front of Bartleby, next to Bartleby, and think, no, that's not it. You look down this corridor here and try to picture various bits, and that doesn't look familiar either. And you look at the door straight ahead, that double door, and again it doesn't look anything familiar. And then you suddenly realise that this door, as you sort of like come out here, the carriage was actually coming down here, and they took the person into, and the Guildmistress into that door. The door
into this one.
The door at the present moment in time, it looks like it's slightly ajar. It doesn't look like it's open enough to anybody to fire anything round, but it's definitely not shut properly.
Okay. Gulliver, after looking around, he's gonna stop, and he's gonna turn to the other ones, and he's going to say in a whisper, the door down here. It's where they took her.
Right.
He's going to start heading. He's going to start heading down there, but he wants to try to move as quietly as he can.
Okay, so what's everybody else's plan there for?
Once Gulliver says that, Hazra will do exactly the same, obviously overtaking Gulliver, but stealthily moving down to position himself. He wants to be aiming for the left-hand side of the door.
Okay. So what about Hengist and Bartleby?
Bartleby doesn't want to blow anybody's cover and doesn't really know what the plan of action is, so he's going to stay about here, maybe up a little bit so he can peer around the corner.
Yeah.
Just waiting for a sign to...
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Awesome show.
Yeah, so we'll just move. So Hazra is that side of the door. Yes, where's Hengist going?
Hengist is going to have his shield ready, sword drawn, and he's going to be walking towards the door, just slowly but ominously. And then when he gets to the door, he's going to pause, check everyone's there, and then he's going to use his shield to push the door open.
Yeah, so the door sort of like opens quite easily, and you can see ahead of you there seems to be quite a vast room. There is, I need to know what people are doing, because I don't want to describe it to all of you. For example, Hazra, you're to one side of the door, so you won't be able to see in.
No.
So as soon as Hengist has opened the door and seen that there's nobody immediately in front of him, he's gonna step in and he's gonna start walking in. But as he goes in, he'll check to his left and right to make sure that nobody's going to come from his sides.
Yeah.
Gulliver will go in and he'll go to the right.
Once Hazra sees Gulliver move towards a door, he will step in front of him and walk in front of Gulliver because he doesn't want Gulliver to be a target.
Okay then, just pop. And what about Bartleby?
Seeing everybody go in, Bartleby will just start walking his way down there and go just into the doorway before he reassesses where he wants to be. Okay,
so I've put you roughly in certain places, and then when we first go in, we just need to make sure. Hang on, I just need to reset that, and then. Okay, I'm not too sure what you can actually see. Oh, you can't see anything. Okay, I'm going to move you onto the map. Can you just verify that you can't see anything?
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Okay, so let me just start to reveal some areas of the map for you.
Outside?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then this is the big. Right. So you can see tied to a chair, tied hands and feet to a chair in the middle of the room, is the person that you recognize as the guild mistress. She's gagged, her hands are tied down, her feet are turned down. The room actually goes off behind her. You can see that there's a set of stairs going up to the north. It looks like there's an exit to the north wall. Can you see that? Just pretend that's not there. That's a solid branch.
Solid wall, is it?
Yeah. The reason you're finding it difficult to see beyond there is that down sort of like off to one side here is a burning lantern that is shut. It's like a bullseye lantern. So the front of it, or a shuttered lantern, the front of it is open, making the light go straight to you. You can see that she's there, and you can also see crouched behind behind her, keeping an eye out but not presenting as a target, seems to be some kind of thug ruffian, and he seems to have a curved blade that is being held across the guild mistress's neck, and you could just sort of like see an eye and sort of like this part of the mouth, and he just seems to be grinning slightly. And yeah.
Sorry, once Hazard sees that, he will put his hands up with his spear and just hold it like that, so he's like not being threatening.
Yeah. And you immediately, I mean, is there anything anybody else would like to do before I just carry on talking?
Just waiting to see whether or not anybody else has.
So Hengist will stop. So he'll take a few steps forward. As soon as he sees this, he'll stop and not go any further. And then he will say to this thug behind and say, "Leave her alone. She's coming with us."
Okay. And what would Gulliver and Bartleby like to do?
I'm trying to decide if what I want to do is stupid, because I don't want to have another lady die on my watch again. I feel like that's a recurring theme for my style of play.
You could just wait and see how things pan out and then go back to it at a different time. You don't have to act. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna not do something.
Okay, so, and Gulliver.
Gulliver's going to almost step. Is this a pillar here?
Yeah.
He step forward here then, and he'll step forward. He's got nothing in his hands, and he'll say,
We can come to some form of arrangement.
Yeah, and so Henge sort of like makes this announcement that they're coming with, she's coming with you guys, and you sort of like say, we can come to an arrangement. And the guy behind the guild mistress says and does nothing. And you hear footsteps, and it's footsteps coming down the stairs, and all of a sudden a rather Weasley looking man appears. He's very gaunt. He's almost like flamboyantly dressed, but dirty, if that makes sense. He's obviously trying to be different.
Dressed up as lamb.
Yeah, and he sort of like comes walking down the stairs, and you notice that he has twin blades at his side, and you notice that he's got like a chest harness on that has a couple of sheathed throwing blades in it. And he says, gentlemen, you are both completely and utterly correct. Yes, she will probably be going with you. And I forget what you said, boy. But yes, welcome. You probably are not aware of who I am. Or do you remember me? I see. Nobody does. So, my name is... Well, there's no harm in sharing with you my name. My name is Snithra, and I run the Thieves Guild in Lindo. I know. You've probably heard about me, but never seen me. Well, that's because I operate well out of your reach. But our paths appear to have crossed. And yes, I'm afraid this will not end well. As you can see, we have the Guildmistress here where you have brought her to, of course, kill her.
What do you want with her?
You do not see, do you? It is not her that we want.
It's us.
Oh no. You are so... Well, an extra brain cell would double your total count. Well,
so if you wanted us here, then you wanted us away from somewhere else.
We do want to set you up for the hideous way you killed the Guildmistress. And you can see her eyes sort of like get really wide at this point. You're obviously discussing her death. Yes, very unfortunate. I'm not too sure what the actual sentence is for murder or ransom or just downright nastiness, but obviously they were not paying you enough money and you just knew, well, you wanted more. Greed, maybe. I'm not too sure, but you know, with the Guildmistress gone, and I dare say you as well, then life will become a lot easier in Lindo for me and my crew of my band of merry thugs. There'll be nobody else stopping trade. And we will be blessed, will we not? Please, before we go any further, weapons on the floor, or her throat is sliced.
Good evening, my friend. If only we had your friend Elliot here at the moment, and Hazra will put his spear down.
Gulliver will take his dagger out of his belt and put it on the floor.
Bartleby is going to set his club on the floor, but I would like to start praying a specific prayer that my cohorts haven't heard before.
Okay, and Hengist.
Hengist will reluctantly and carefully put his sword on the floor.
And gentlemen, against the wall, please. So he's gesturing you to do this position. Are you happy to go in that position?
Gulliver is going to head back, as he's not turning his back, he's sort of like walking backwards so that he can keep an eye on the what the guy's doing with the guild.
Yeah. Okay.
The guild mistress.
Okay. Bartleby, you're muttering prayers. Hazra and Hengist, are you going to move to your back towards the wall as well?
Yeah, so
I pretty much. Sorry, go.
So Hengist will walk backwards, so he's not going to sort of like break eye contact with the Thieves Guild person.
Hazra was already at the wall, wasn't he, when he came in? So he just put his spear down, so his back would be against the wall as he was there. But somehow appeared at the top of the room.
And you sort of like back up against the wall, and you can see your club down to your right hand side, Bartleby, and somebody walks in and picks up the club as they walk in, and they come into view in the actual room.
Yeah.
And you see they've got these broad smiles
Mother!
on their faces, and they say, "You silly, ignorant idiots! We led you all the way, accepting your wonderful plan to set it all up. We played you, and now it is not our fellow second in command who will take over this guild. With the Guildmistress gone, and due to my wonderful acquaintances here," and the guy sort of like gives a gentle bow, "we will run the guild. You see, Sweet Flame Nimbus refuse point blank to deal in the narcotics that these kind people were bringing into our town. She all got all hoity-toity on us. She did not see the leverage, the money that we could make. And so we hired you. How do you think, you stupid people, the darts did not kill us?" And you suddenly cut back, that the darts went into them, and you remember thinking, "Oh, they've got some kind of bodice on, or some kind of leather setup," and you suddenly think the arrows, all the darts went into that, as I said, while the others went into the footmen. And then it flashes back again to the after you left, and no sooner had you left the guild house, they were both sobbing, and all of a sudden that sobbing turned into giggles and then laughter, and Eliza sort of like removes what appeared to be somewhat fake liquid and dirt, and she just sort of like comes in, and as the spell's released, she says, "Come on, Boris, my dear, we have our prize to catch." And then you sort of like think back to this moment. So she turns to Sniffer. "How do we do this? Your spell will be ready to be cast, Mr. Bartleby."
Well, out of character, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry if I...
You have nothing to apologise for, sir.
I just feel like desperation is necessary, and Bartleby is getting a little angry. The prayer that I was hoping to cast, which features a lot of statements of judgment and whether or not my person.
No, he can't do that unless he's a priest.
No, but I'm going to use this on the target of the guy with the knife. You're allowed an evade.
Amriel's nuke.
and I'm prepared to use a point of luck if this roll fails.
Okay then. So tell me what happens.
I should probably roll first, shouldn't I?
No. Tell me what's
no?
going to happen first.
The goal is Bartleby's just getting stormier and stormier, and anybody near him can hear him muttering about judgment for the sins of humanity, and that Amriel will cast her gaze upon those who defy her followers. And then if it goes off correctly, it would be a very loud crack of lightning, maybe not in the room, but everybody hears it around, and some sort of bolt of energy or beam of light goes down on a random part or crosses over a random part of the target.
Okay.
Filling them with pain, hopefully.
Yeah. With a loud crack.
Yes.
When
It has
cast.
to have a loud sound in it.
Okay then. So roll. This would be exalt, and you can augment it with your passion of your order to Amriel.
All right. Well, it would be folk magic, because this is just a folk magic spell.
Yeah,
right?
you can still, because it's still technically coming from.
You are doing a self-righteous act.
Yeah, so you can 13. So you get 13 onto your folk magic. So before you roll it, this is when we hope you don't fumble.
Okay. Got a 79% chance of success here.
Don't say that. Just roll it.
Building the
Can I use my last point of luck forever?
Just it.
Last point of luck. Did you say you got a
Don't
point?
re-roll it. Don't re-roll it. Just
To flip it, to make it a standard success.
Okay
68.
then. So you need to roll a 1d20 for me, because it's it's random unless you're actually touching something, isn't it?
Take it. Head or arm. Head or arm. That was
doesn't
not
work.
how
You
I
have to
did
put /R.
it. Right in the 10.
Tell me what that is.
chest. That'll do the job.
That is chest, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a heart attack. That.
Yeah, so you sort of like finish your prayer, and with a tremendous yellowy light, I presume, almost like appears from nowhere and shoots down to the guy behind. It just sort of like instantly stuns his chest, I think it does, isn't it?
Yes.
Shot.
For D3
Yeah.
rounds.
Roll 1d3 then. Turns,
Money.
not rounds.
Oh, yes, sorry. My bad. That's even better. 1d3.
Yeah, and it's all like a like that in him, and he's almost like knocks himself back onto his butt and drops the dagger. And at that point,
As that goes off, Gulliver wants to go into action as well.
right? But now we are going into
Initiative.
initiative rounds, please. Now what I'm going to do is that it could be that both parties would be surprised with this. So rather than rolling surprise for each other, I'm just going to assume that nobody is actually surprised, because otherwise it'll just knock everything down. Who are we waiting for?
Sorry,
Gulliver.
I couldn't select my character. I'm 12.
My initiative bonus is 9, so Gulliver would go
Looks
before me.
old.
Like that. Yeah, right, hang on, because I've got to roll. So these are the thugs.
Don't laugh, Bartleby, because that could be like 23.
Yeah, but at least they didn't get like 7 above 23.
And this is I'm going to call them the merchants. 6,
Traitors.
9. Okay. So Gulliver, you burst into action.
So as this thug behind the Guildmistress sort of like.
Oh, hang on a minute. Sorry, just 7. Sorry. I only added 7 to the thugs roll, and they have more than 7. 14. Sorry. What, Hazra, what's your initiative?
My initiative bonus is 11.
Yeah, so theirs is 9, so they go. 10, sorry, so it goes a little bit below after you. Okay then, yeah, that's it. Sorry, Gulliver, go.
So as this thug behind the Guildmistress is sort of like stunned by this clap.
This loud clap of thunder that shocks him.
Yeah. And the dagger drops from his hand. Gulliver almost like points at it as it's falling, with his 2 fingers crossed, and you hear him say, "Idabalad," and he'll cast this spell on the dagger. And
okay.
my roll is, with a point at luck, 59.
Okay then, so that means it'll drop down, won't it, by 1 thing. So just remind me.
So as it falls onto the ground, as it's falling, it sort of like starts to tarnish.
Yeah, maybe it fell and went dang like that, and you can see the rust sort of like spreading up it. Bartleby, you're up.
Still spouting the statements of judgment and probably some awful words, damnation towards these guys. I'm going to point towards Sniffer, or was it Sniffra?
Sniffer, as in he's got a big nose.
Gross. I will. I'll point at him too, and I'm going to cast the same prayer of judgment. And if he is innocent in this, he shall not be wounded. This is my roll. I have no luck. Or do I?
Yeah, so you sort of like now he's a little bit more dexterous.
You are allowed an evade.
Yeah, so he's a little bit more, being a master thief, he is somewhat more dexterous as the thing, and he actually gets a 5, which will actually be a crit for him.
Question about that. Since this is an evade, does that mean it cost him an action point, or did we have a different? I forget where we went.
Yeah, so it always an action point.
Worms.
Say again, sorry. I didn't hear that. I heard, does it cost him an action point? I didn't hear the bits after that.
I said, don't open that can of worms.
No,
I said yes.
It's quite this. We've checked this before. So if you evade anything, it costs you an action, no matter what the evade is. It's a bit convoluted because, say for example, resisting it via willpower doesn't cost you an action, but because it's evade, it does.
It's a movement, so
yeah. But the only thing that it doesn't mean is that, mainly because it would be so many disadvantages, if you do evade resisting a spell, it doesn't mean that you're prone, because it's a resist. Otherwise it would cost you an action and you would be at a disadvantage. So it's like the spell has, and then you would be hit by the effect.
Yeah.
Can you see? Just be so, but you sort of like call down the lightning, and he sort of like almost like preempts where it's going, and with some quick nimbleness, dies behind that pillar, and it sort of like strikes down in that square. So it sort of like comes down here. Like that, and with another loud crack. Do you want to have odds or evens, Mr. Bartleby?
I will take odds.
Odds. So odds, the chair stays up. Evens, it falls. Odds. So she's still on the chair, and the chair is still upright. And we come to Hazra Khan.
Hazra will be making a dash for his spear, and if he can in the same action try to possibly pick it up.
Yeah, so it's probably roundabout in front of Gulliver from where you were beforehand, so you can get there and arm it. That's not a problem. Thugs go next. Sniffer, okay, he actually uses his action point to move up the stairs and sort of like goes up the stairs. This guy, having been knocked down to the floor with the power, he was prone, so he gets up, and that's his action on 14. 13 is you, Hengist, next.
Seeing Sniffer run upstairs, Hengist is going to run for. Hang on, I haven't measured it, but he wants to run to try and get to the Guildmistress and the other thug. So he would want to end up sort of here if he could.
Is this the one that's stunned? The one behind the guild?
Yeah, he was the one on the floor who used his last action to get up. And now I need to make willpowers, just so you know, for my merchants, because although there might be nasty pieces of work, they are totally and utterly cowards. 14, she'll have that. We'll keep that one. So she's succeeded. This is Boris.
Always the way with women, isn't it?
And 21, he succeeds as well.
It's a woman.
They sort of like look around, and they actually start to move. They just sort of like turn and run. Hengist, you can probably see where they go. Can you just see here?
Just, yes.
Yeah, so you can, as you get up level with this thug, you can see that there's an exit there, and the two of them have gone down out of that. And we come up to turn 2, Gulliver.
Okay, Gulliver is... Are there any other doors? Sniffer, did he go up through a door, or did I just lose?
He just went up the stairs. You assume that there must be another floor up above.
Right. Okay. So Gulliver is going to come across to the. He's going to. He's going to pick up his dagger off the floor, and he's heading over towards the guild.
Okay,
Mistress.
that's cool. You can do that. Bartleby, you're on 16.
You're muted, Bartleby.
Yeah, I caught up myself. With the same amount of venom that he's still spewing, probably, Bartleby is going to stride up to, you can move me back if this is too far, but to about like right next to Gulliver, like right there.
Yeah, that's fine. That's 16. Hazra on 14.
Hazra with the spear in hand is heading straight for the stairs if you can get that far.
Yeah, you're sort of like halfway up the stairs, or start heading to go up there. Thugs will now move, and this guy will use his action point to try to get out of your way, Hengist. So he's literally trying to evade at the moment. So you need to also... You don't have to make an evade.
No, Hengist wants to try and keep in combat distance with
he's literally trying to escape. So his is 64, which means he's actually failed. He's sort of like still scrambling up and backing away, but you're sort of like marching towards him, vehemently walking towards him, getting closer and closer as he tries to. He is stood up, but he's getting away, trying to step away, and you're getting closer and closer. Hengist, you're on 13.
Hengist is going to... he's going to punch out with his shield. And if he manages to, he wants to try and... I'll punch out with the shield and see if I get what I want.
Is your shield...
Yeah, he didn't drop his shield. He just dropped his sword. His shield was on his arm.
Oh, right. I wish I'd known that, because you wouldn't be disarmed. Okay, then. Yeah, roll away.
So you got 55 standard.
Yeah.
So he special will be. I want to see if I can do. I just want to double check. I want to try and do trip opponent, but I'm not 100% sure if I can.
You won't be able to do trip opponent with a shield.
With a shield, I won't be able to. That's fine. He will, in that case, still punch out, but he will choose location knee, I think, or leg, right leg.
Okay.
And then you want shield, which is that one, for 4 points of damage.
Okay then. Yeah, so you sort of like your shield's still strapped to your arm. You sort of like you must somehow crouch down to hit his leg. I would have thought, or something like that. So you crouch down and whack his leg. It's not stun damage or bash or anything like that, isn't it? No. So he will take that from his leg.
Although that is the best special with the shield.
But bash, it's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, bash isn't. Stun location.
Stun location is. Because if it means that it would now be... yeah, he seems to have some kind of leather breeches on that is sort of like protected him about, but it's definitely bruised in some way. Merchants move, and so you can't see where they are at the moment. I'm going to reveal just a little bit more of the place, because now where you're at, you can probably see to the back. Can you see to the back now? Yeah, so this is going on to combat round, still one, third pass if anybody's got any actions left.
Yes, so Gulliver's action is to try to cut the bonds of the...
Yeah, you can do that. Just make me a brawn roll. I just want to make sure that you don't fumble it.
Brawn or my my weapons skill?
Either or, I'm quite happy.
Okay, I'll use my weapons skill because I think I'm sort of like...
Okay, that's cool.
Trying to do the actual cut.
Yeah, so you start to sort of like cut the ropes. Bartleby, you're up on 16.
I don't have any more action points.
Okay then, Hazra, do you have any more action points?
I do indeed. Hazra will, he's half at the stairs. He will just drop to one knee, spear raised behind him, and he will just stay there watching the corridor ahead, or the stairs ahead.
Okay.
If he pops out.
Okay then, so thugs go on 14. I've got no action points left. Hengist, if you've got action points left for third round, then it's you.
Hengist does. He's going to... yeah, so he's going to attack again, but he'll try and compel surrender. If he succeeds, he'll try and do compel surrender. But he doesn't succeed.
Okay. And merchants move. I'm taking the merchants off the turn order now because they're so far gone. You won't actually catch up with them at the present moment in time. Tell me what's going to be the aim of the following combat. Obviously, Gulliver, you're going to release the Guildmistress.
I mean, Gulliver's action is he wants to release the Guildmistress and get her to safety. That's the...
Yeah. And what about Hazra? Yeah.
Exactly the same. I mean, the whole goal of this is keeping her alive. In Hazra's mind, the merchants have failed. They will never be able to come back to the guild house because the Guildmistress has heard what they were up to. So all he wants to do is protect her and make sure nobody comes down these stairs.
Okay, yeah. So you can carry on protecting the stairs. Bartleby.
Yeah, the goal is to get the Guildmistress, but hopefully, I would say another goal is to get this thug. So Bartleby would probably on his next action, or so would be going for another shock if we're not taking him down or he's not surrendering.
Okay, and what about you, Hengist? What is your action with this guy?
Hengist wants to try and get this guy to compel surrender on this guy so that he becomes a prisoner, essentially, so that we can...
Okay then. So you sort of like carry on threatening him with your shield, and with Bartleby there as well. He sort of like gives up, and he sort of like says, you know, it's nothing to do with me. It's not my fault. So and so, so and so. And as you sort of like go towards him to sort of like manhandle him or cuff him, you notice that there's a cracking sound from his mouth, and he suddenly sort of like there's a moment of realization sort of like dawns on you as you hear this tss, and Bartleby, you're there, and you hear this sissing sound and this burning of flesh, and you figured that he must have had some kind of canister or false tooth or something that actually contains some kind of acid, and he's literally broken it and swallowed it, burning his throat, etc. out, and he actually dies, not somewhat in agony, but also with a rather broad, grinning smile on his face. And yeah, you can manage to release the Guild Mistress, and you sort of like accompany her back to the guild house. And
just before we do leave this guy on the floor dying, can we just check his wrist for any tattoos?
He has no tattoos at all. So you sort of like head back, and she sort of like starts to explain to you why she was here to bring a warning, she says, to the person on the harbour master's list that was actually to stop trade with him altogether. And of course only a guild mistress can cancel trade agreements like that. The last time she came, she had rather a big argument about it, which I think one of you picked up in the initial legwork stuff. The guild mistress has made enemies. Indeed, she had several discussions with the local harbour master the last time she was here. She wanted better prices for the guild's docking charge. Well, actually, that was half the rumour. She actually did go down, but not for docking charges. And the rest of it, you probably can figure out by yourself. You might be wondering where the snake was. And the snake wasn't in the bridge. It wasn't.
Say it was one of the seats in the
yes,
thing.
It was already in the sedan chair because nobody went in and checked it over or anything like that. So Boris was actually in league with the whole thing, and so was Eliza. And just to let you know, I think you were saying something about life in pain, seeing a different direction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when you gave me that plan,
you had to work with it.
I just went with it, and that was it. I just sort of like went with what, because I knew where everything was going to fit in, and then I was hoping, and I don't know whether or not I did or not, I was hoping that you would feel that you were ahead of everybody, you were doing the right thing, and you were one step of the assassin. And the tailor literally did come out huffing and puffing because he had to make the breeches because he didn't know to the day before. But that was just the time that Boris wanted to put the release the snake. It wasn't Eliza in the thing, it was another decoy.
Really well done.
From the person. They had leather bodices on. And I don't know, go back and listen to it, because I said it looks like they got some kind of corset on that they're all, but that had to happen because it released.
You released them.
Well, yeah. You weren't suspicious of them then. You weren't suspicious of. Were you suspicious of them at any point?
I became suspicious of Eliza, of the fake Eliza, but that was it. The other Eliza, no. Once you really, really well done.
I was thinking, as a player, it was either going to have been Boris or Eliza, but only after he'd killed the snake.
After you killed the snake?
Yeah, and I was thinking, that's a little bit, because I vaguely remember, the Tailors like showing them and then folding them. So I was thinking he can't have put Snake in. I can't remember if what happened or not.
Call me Thicky Arbuncle, but I didn't suspect any of them at any point through that.
Do you know really the bit that I had to be really careful was when Bartleby cured the decoy in the sedan chair, and in order to make it real, I refer to the square neck thing and into the breast, etc. And her cowl was still up, and I said it's still turned up, and her head's there. And if you had said then, Bartleby, can I just check to see whether or not this is the? But you as players, when she came out with the cowl up, you didn't flinch because you thought
it was the whole plan.
Yeah. So you actually gave her the plan.
And at one point, when he cures through poison, why would you go, hey, let's have a look at your face? Oh my God, because you wouldn't be like, oh my God, she's breathing.
So so that part of the adventure, you literally gave it to me.
Do you know what? I was looking at this giant red herring.
I had Gulliver playing that it was Boris, because that's the information that he had got. But as a player, I had Eliza who was behind it.
Do you want to know why you had to roll your willpower?
Because she succeeded in her willpower and was therefore giving me false information.
No. She has a very special perfume that the smell of which actually allows her to command
coerce
people.
So I had to play that out.
And do you want to know when you said to me about so you when you were saying about magical items in the game, that was one of them that you had already come across. It was already there because you had seen it from the beginning. And I feel so sorry for the tailor because I just made him a complete scapegoat.
Yeah, he did lose weight, so he's like 5 pounds off already. He saved his life.
But I thought when you were suddenly thinking, hang on a minute, if he came out with the breeches and a snake in it, you would have seen it.
The whole point was the weight of the breeches with a 2-foot snake. It's gonna be like, oh my God, it's really heavy.
And it was at that point that I was hoping that Hengist didn't stop him. Because if Hengist stopped him, it wouldn't be that he foiled the plan, because the plan was to go, he would have foiled the excuse. If that makes sense.
I'm more surprised Hengist everybody and just check it before it went through, because that's a bodyguard, you check stuff that goes through.
Yeah.
So we learn from these things.
But
I expected them to die by poisoned bread, and then
I know
if the bread didn't get them, the snake would, and if the snake didn't get them, the sweets would.
But what I was waiting for was once the sweets was some die of poisoning from the sweets afterwards.
So the basic plan was that the Boris would go one way, the decoy. Eliza would take the guild mistress down to see the dockmaster to say that the trade agreement was finished. However, she was already in cahoots with the local thieves guild, which was obvious. And then they would capture the guild mistress. They actually did beat her up slightly, but not a huge amount. And then she would have come back. You would have gone in. They would kill the guild mistress, and then the merchants would blame you people. And
Hang on, we people?
You four for capturing her and killing her. And if you had got to that far and it had worked, they would have used the excuse that you had already killed 1 decoy, 2 footmen. Isn't it remarkable that you were all on guard, all you brave adventurers, and yet one of the people died on your watch? So
Yes. Which was the main thing why Hazra wanted to stay. But we didn't want to chase the thief. I wanted to stay back and protect.
So, just to let you know, so we've had 4 sessions, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think the first session there wasn't a lot of stuff in there. So you will gain 6. Each one of you, apart from you, Hengist, everyone will get 2, 2, and 2. So you get 6. All of you get 6, and Hengist, you get 3. But you do gain 1 experience roll because the guild mistress was actually alive. And to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting the shock spell at all. I thought Hazra might try to throw his spear and take
To be fair, I was like, I thought Gulliver was going to do his summon spell and summon the blade out of his hand.
Just to let you know, you will
can't do it because it takes at that range. It takes
too much time.
Oh.
She would have been dead.
And
that's not what Hazra told him to do.
I know, because I just said a random word.
And just to let you know, the other things that you can put on your character sheets or think about.
So is that an extra experience?
So we've got 7 in total.
Yeah, so it's 7 for for Hazra.
I get 4.
Yeah, Hazra, Gulliver, and Bartleby, you'll get 7 experience rolls, and Hengist will get 4. 3 plus the 1. He doesn't get 3 plus 1, take away 1. It's just because technically the guild mistress did survive, and then that was it. You've also gained some kind of knowledge about the thieves guild that's operating in Lindo, and maybe you are on their hit list now.
Christmas list.
Yeah. But on the positive, whoever is the new person running the guild here, you probably gain some favour or some rep with them.
As you said, the guild mistress will be highly thankful to.
Yeah, well,
Not to you. You had to go at her.
yeah, she did.
Well, because she was anyway.
And so yeah, the next day she sort of like leaves and thanks you, and she literally leaves you with a favour. And she says, obviously, there is no price that could be put on to saving someone's life, and I understand that completely. However, I will honour the proposition from my ex-guildmate, so you still get the money.
Can we make sure that the additional payment goes to the
and she will honour that, and she also says, obviously, money cannot come close to my level of respect and how honoured I was by you saving me, your wonderful adventurers. I cannot put money on a price on that, price on your skills and judgment, and so therefore I leave you with a favour from the guild whenever you require it, but just one. And she, with a flurry of clothes, she gets back into her carriage and rides off to the next town. And here ends the guarding of the Guildmistress. And just so you know, the decoys were in right from the beginning. It wasn't just because you failed. But I had to think of a way, if you did fail, that you didn't kill her. And so and I thought I thought an important guild mistress. I tell you where I got it from. Star Wars.
I thought that during the week. It's, Princess Amidala or whatever.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
I saw that and I thought, that's how I keep them from making a mess up and killing someone.
Killing.
Yeah.
Was it Boris and Eliza who did the previous assassination attempts with the snake in the carriage? Was that someone?
No.
Good question.
No, because it never happened.
It's rumour and suspicion.
Rumour of suspicion.
Damn them.
And this annoys Mr. Pickles.
And
Maybe start sending letters backwards and forwards to other places.
and guess who started the rumours?
Those two, I bet. Yeah.
Damn them.
And just like fed it into you. So I don't know when you suspected them, but I suspect it was quite a way in. Do you be honest with you? I thought somebody was going to get it after the first needle attack.
No.
When 2 footmen died.
I honestly think people are saying they got it and they really didn't.
2 footmen died, and yet the 2 other people that was in clear line of sight.
Got just pinpricks but nothing else. Just
Yeah,
like
I really did think.
Oh, it's in my hair.
I thought somebody was going to pick it up there and think, hang on a minute, why didn't they get hit in the face
Well,
or the head or any exposed bit of flesh?
but these 2 merchants, who's known from the start? Was it Bartleby and Gulliver?
And Hengist.
Hengist and
I think Bartleby was on. That was
I
his
think
first
that was
adventure
my
with
first-
this. Yeah,
that was
that
my
was
first
adventure
adventure.
with this.
oh yeah, well you know them
So really, you 3 have been working with these dodgy merchants.
for one
We didn't know
adventure. Yeah.
they might not have been dodgy back then. It was a year ago, Azra.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that adventure. I certainly did. Just to let you know, it's not a pre-made. It's one that I made up, so I'm right proud of myself with that.
Right. And
Yeah.
I still say that Gulliver knows now. Nothing, Gulliver.
Now, I think people were saying that we can't do the 21st. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm not around next week.
Oh,
Either.
Yeah. So there's two,
I've taken a day off as well.
but that would be quite good because I can use next Saturday to actually start making up the next adventure. So there'll be no Mythras for next week. You can also decide, by a week on Saturday, 2 weeks today, where you will be rolling your experience rolls. If you do have any fumbles, please just add them up outside game time and add on your your extra point. And I hope players, I hope you enjoyed the adventure, and I hope people watching enjoyed the adventure as well. If you didn't catch up, if you didn't see all of them, don't forget you'll be able to catch up tomorrow when the final session goes up on YouTube. Anybody got any announcements to make?
I have not.
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing for me.
So I will just say that I will be back streaming tomorrow at 2:00 BST time. It's still summertime here, even though it was dark at 8:30. Did you notice that?
Oh God, yes, isn't it?
Yeah. We will be back. I will be streaming tomorrow, and don't forget you can also catch me during the week. But we'll be back with some role playing in 2 weeks' time once I've made up the adventure. So thank you for popping in today. I hope you really enjoyed it. And so it's good night from me, and it's good night from them.
Good night.
Good night
See you later.
from him.